Dema Jimden de Shenshava, Rajamba Yando, Lobe Sanje Ribada Shanson, Devare Javan Jidin Kema, Givon de Kano, Lana Meva Hada Menam Yedama, Sanje, Bejawa Shaja Dubana, Chasen, Chudu Yasu, Dema Jimden de Shenshava, Rajamba Yando, Lobe Sanje Ribada Shanson, Devare Jidin Kema, Givon de Kano, Lana Hada Menam Yedama, Sanje Jimden. Shajan Tuba La Shantin Lo Shudu Yasu, Dema Jimden de Shenshava, Rajamba Yando, Ribada Shazon Dema, Devashavan Jidin Jema, Jivon de Kano, Lana Meba Hada Menam Yedama, Sanje Jimden, Bejawa Shajan Tuba La Shantin Lo Shudu Yasu, Conceptualization Jadam Zaya Sajan de No Commandement. Nanen Jidin de La Georges, Montezekeva Jama. Namda Gonga Jodo, Susan Waji Shejan, Seja Tumbo, Taban Jiden Sumna Lame, Gombo Chuni Jama Chaz, Senja de Martimenda Veshi, Sendo Rawa Jama Chaz, Durejana Zeva Suma Janyame Jenja Jama Chaz, Gombo to Jesha and Matam Jame, Dumbo Sonam Yet, the Shejana Chaz and Lot Habian de Janja, giving it to the bridge. Chido Janam Jojo was in your Jala Chaz and General Lava Tama, Shingatamba Yun, then get Yonaya Chaz and Tibachi and Bishes. Give up those over Jarangis and the tennis and Yadama. Kamara, Remamenda, you must have a sugar, Melam Lot and Jenna, the Jason at the top. Sonam de Yatam Jesse, when you go on to the Ginger and God, not that she will look to. Sibezon and one driver show.
To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya land, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened one, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya land, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 2 worlds, winner of the blessed, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the teacher having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to dustness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality. To that dharma which pacifies I prostrate. Those who are degraded and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community attending virtue I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. a star, a mirage, a flame, a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain miracle all seeing, subdue the flow of thoughts, and be delivered from motion of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death.
Sanje Jodon Zojo Shomano, Chanju Badon Dane Janzu, Dagen Jezoje, Sonamje, Dola Penja, Sanje Drubush, Sanje Jodon Zojo Shomano, Chanju Badon Dane Janzu, Dagen Jezoje, Sonamje, Dola Penja, Sanje Drubush, Sanje Jodon Zojo Shomano, Chanju Badon Dane Janzu, Dagen Jezoje, Sonamje, Dola Penja, Sanje Drubush.
I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Tamje Jambala Shan, Zelon Dena Sanje Jumne, the Shisha Vandajuma, Yanda Manzo, Sanje Ribana Shabanda, Devare Shavanji, Denchama, Jivon, the Kano Jivana, Namada, Mena Jetamba. Sanje Jumne, so on the Shisha Badina, Sonamdagi Jutama, Gaveta, Chumizama. Severa do Jemba Sonam Jeteranam Jishi, Beja Sambanam Jetama, Tianam Jemma, Dojema, Juremba, Tona, Medemba, Tebema, Gombraka, Shero Sijin, Dona Zevan Meva Sinjatam Jiji, Demba, Chanju Sambanam Java, Pavia Kazana, Jevo, Yangan de Chonjudon Rovana, Jeteben, Ishepada, Boba Sanjim, Sonambrata, Yanyama Gujeda, Chomejeva, Gusamba, Meba, Gamma, Soda Genu. Sumevada Mandeva Dungan, the number two, Pumba, the number two, come on the medium, but Gajan, the Mandama, Shid Chip. Yozo don't want the number two, Sival Jubo, Chuan and Givan, Yishio, Deva, no Majumba, Tadajum. Sanjay Jenden, Yishela Neva, Yamena Deva, Medeva, Yadava, Yatan Deva. Sinjatam Jena Siva Sala Juba, and the Sanjay Jenden, Kushib, and the Yanda Namazo. Tambe Shen and Toma give a Padu give a Tama give a Yazama Central Mandeba Yozo Tama Yozo Chang. Yahanda Toma Nemba Dusheba Meba, what the Madeton, the Tenyu, Kevana, Susan and Ribacham. Jemden was to be Chenduana Levatum, and Yavajo Wanzobe Sanjud and Drovacheva, Medumba Mission Devata, the Matemba Yuba. Tabajim Gilenia, Levashuba, Ribashuba, Tambashuba, Tambashuba, Temajib, Charger. Sonam Jibeji, Shin, Joan Jumbaji, Benazo, Kundon, Jibenazo, Jumbo. Kangi, what did you long, woman, the senior messenger, Payment and Shots. 414. The fruit of having engaged in analysis, reasoning. The fruit of having engaged in analysis with reasoning. So the, I think root text, Chandrakirti's root text, says ordinary beings are chained by conceptualizations. Yogi who do not conceptualize become free. The wise have said that the very cessation of conceptualizations in the fruit of the refined analysis. So the two reasons. One is in samsara, because it's chained by the conceptualizations. Yogi is going free from suffering because they become free, becoming free from the conceptualizations, or arhat, who are totally free from conceptualizations. So this is why the wise have said the very cessation of the conceptualizations is the fruit of the refined analysis. So the main, I think, the core of this, what makes you free and what change up in samsara, is either you chained by the conceptualization, or you are free from the conceptualizations. So the particularly is referring the conceptualization is grasping on the intrinsic property. That's so ordinary beings who have no knowledge of this ultimate nature of things as explained above are chained primarily by conceptualizations, grasping at extreme. In the contrast, yogi, that because of their comprehension of this ultimate reality, do not conceptualize in a distorted manner, so they become free. So therefore, the wise have said, the very cessation of conceptualizations, grasping at extreme through negating all their object of apprehensions. So negating the object that is apprehended by, apprehended by the thought, intrinsically, the fruit of the refined analyze. This is the result of the wisdom presented by the noble Nagarjuna in his treatises on the middle way, and the 400, and Ayodhya 400 stanzas 2 says, if things exist intrinsically, what benefit exists for seeing emptiness? If things are real as you see, as you smell, as you hear, as you know, what is the benefit of the emptiness? Because you are all your perceptions, seeing things as it is. So what is needed for the, wisdom realizing emptiness? Seeing through the conceptualizations is bondage. Seeing through, which means grasping at mental construct, is the bondage. And this is what is being negated here. So what here negating is the grasping at mental construct, right? Conceptualizing on the mental construct, or any kind of sometimes we in the English this usually normally how we kind of interpret that concept mental construct is mental concept. We use mental, so it's not a sensual. It has anything to do with construct. Mm-hmm. So in the logically, even the things that we see is construct, mm-hmm. is created. Mm-hmm. Is like, for example, the existing of the color and the sound is constructed through your sense faculty, mm-hmm. By the consciousness. So the sound and the smell and taste and the textures are constructed from, some people says, it is translated by, element, inner element with very, low data. Mm-hmm. So very low data means it cannot. It is constructed that you are experiencing it, but if you try to pinpoint, if you try to apprehend it, so there is no way you can find with any basis.
So could we also say sensual construct? Like, could we use those together,
yes,
like
yeah.
mental construct, sensual construct?
Yeah.
Okay.
The mental construct, like the relations of the cause and effect. Okay. And then a mental construct, like a country, the nations, mm-hmm. A forest. These are the mental construct. And, the person, human being, male, female, yeah. and tall, short, good looking or not good looking, all of them is a mental construct. The person, I mean the persons. So there was stated here that there was stated here that where phenomena exist intrinsically, this would then be their true characters. If phenomena do exist intrinsically, so this would then be true characters. In that case, it would be better to recognize that that fact, no benefit would come from seeing emptiness of intrinsic existence. So if your whole perception, 6 perceptions, are the valid with respect to their object, and then you don't need noble path. You don't need wisdom realizing emptiness. So, and also you don't have any condition to experience any kind of disappointment, or you should not have any condition to be emotionally attached to anything, because your whole perception is seeing as it is. So no benefit come from seeing the emptiness of intrinsic existence. However, since one, the ordinary beings, is chained by seeing things via conceptualizations, that is to say, via grasping through at intrinsic existence. It is necessary, instead of seeing through or with, saying via. It's almost like you're flying in the airplane. So maybe mind is flying. Intrinsic existence is the object that is clung to by such conceptualizations that is being negated here. So on the midways in the commentaries on either stanzas by Chandrakiti too, it reads the conceptualization that refer to superimposing, a sense of essential nature onto things that does not accord with realities. So conceptualizations here referring to the thoughts that superimposing a sense of essential nature onto things. So the Chandrakiti explain it in terms of projecting what does not exist in reality as having such existence in the realities. So things do not exist intrinsically, but your mind is constantly, almost 100%. Anything that appears to the mind grasps that is something exists, essence of itself. When we see the color, we see there's a colors that independent, existing by itself. When you hear the sound, we tend to think that, sound is existing in and of itself. It's kind of, as normal in a kind of normal conscious, normal knowledge, we always think there's no argument. Yes, sound does exist by itself. It comes to my ear. So I want to stop that sound. I'm reduce the volume of the sound. So we think there is, I'm controlling it. So therefore, which means sound that you are hearing is existing by itself. But but in even the according to physics, also they have knowledge of how sound is not existing, right? So, but they don't really say how sound is relatively existing. They only have the knowledge to how sound cannot be existing. Yeah, that's why I heard that some of the physicists said, I'm not comfortable talking about existence. So, because it's so confusing. Existing is so confusing.
Yeah.
So I have whole reason to not existing, but I cannot, I don't feel right to claim there's something existing. So this is why kind of when you negate something, overly negating, you just let it against the common language and ordinary perceptions. You don't say, I don't care, because this is the reality. So yeah, kind of conceptual. So Chandrakiti explained it in the projecting one does not exist in the reality as having such existing in the reality. Having such reality means intrinsic or essence of essential nature. So the conceptualizations referred to here should not be understood as just any kind of conceptual cognition. It should be understood as the conceptualization of true existence and conceptual thought grasping at the extreme. So they're saying, conceptual thought grasping at extreme, is, yes, we see the color, but if I think the color, color does exist in and of itself, that is extreme. So with respect to the conceptualization, grasping at an extreme too, the term extreme extreme cannot many things. What's that? Cannot many things. The meaning here, however, is the sense of being free from extreme presented. Sense of is the sense of being free from extreme. Extreme is grasping extreme is the terms extreme. Many things like eternalisms is one of the extreme, and annihilations is one of the extreme. So when you say color exists, therefore colors do exist by their own essence, is eternalism. And then says color is not existing at all because it does not exist in and of itself. That is also one of the extreme. Because it's not ultimately existing, therefore it's not existing at all, is falling into another extreme. So, extreme, presented in the Kamalashila light of the middle way. If for Madhyamika, Kamalashila, in his book, says, if for Madhyamika, the mind were to exist in any way as ultimate entity with its own nature. So Kamalashila is one of the Yogacharya Madhyamika. So is half mind only, half Madhyamika, Yogacharya Madhyamika. So in the mind only school says the mind is intrinsically truly exists, ultimately exists. So the Kamalashila is all more leaning to the Madhyamika, and everything is part of the mind. There is no external reality, but mind is not intrinsically exists, not truly exists. So sometimes they say two-headed person. So the Kamalashina says mind were to exist in any way as ultimate entity with its own nature, then since it would have such nature, how could clinging to it in terms of permanence and impermanence be extreme? So the Kamalashila also says, if the mind intrinsically exists or truly exists, ultimately exists, and then, so either you perceive the mind is, impermanence, intrinsically impermanent. So, or, the permanent, anything that is permanent, like space, any negation elements, is the self of the person's and extreme, the believing that is the permanent. The both are right perceptions. If mind does exist intrinsically, So it's, are you getting it? Since it would have such nature, how could clinging to? So if the mind is truly exists, the Kabbalah says, mind is not truly exists. If mind truly exists, then and mind, truly impermanent is not exaggerations, right? If space is truly exists, as truly permanent is not extreme. Then says mind and the space or every phenomena is not intrinsically exist, not truly exist. So therefore, something that is truly permanent or something that truly impermanent is both are superimposition. For example, there's a self of the person, right? If this person, the person existing intrinsically, if the person exists intrinsically, and what is the wrong with, perceiving self as a permanent, right? So there is no wrong with that kind of perceptions. Atma is permanent. If the mind, when the Charvaka says, after death, there is no self in the next life, right? This is the person is impermanent. Intrinsically, it's truly impermanent, which means one is death and that is the end. There's nothing. So they both are, it's not going to, you cannot say this is superimposition.
So Tsongkhapa is using Kamalashila's example here to say, when we're talking about conceptualizations, this is what we're talking about. Okay.
So the conceptualizations here, the ayat was referring to, the conceptualizations of it. Yeah, so you can say conceptualizing, extreme, entity. So extreme entity, self being permanent, is extreme, entity or kind of a superimposition, and self once is, disintegrate, one is ceased to exist and turn into nothingness is one of the extreme. In the both way, Charaka who believe there is no next life after death, because this life and this person is truly exist. So that true existing once is ceased to exist, and that means is nothingness. So Kamalation is saying that, if there is something intrinsically existing or truly existing, then Charvaka's belief is not a wrong perception. And non-Buddhist thinking the self of a person is permanent. That is also not wrong perception. In anything that is truly exist, then you cannot argue with. You have no any proof. Proof to say their thought is their conceptualization is superimposition. So yeah, for example, if this is a hypothetical, if myself, my body is impermanent, I am permanent, and I'm independent of my body. So when the plane crashes, so there is nothing wrong and nothing damage to me. My body may be crashed. I take to hospital. I just go and pay a bill. So this is also not the wrong perception, because the self of a person is independent, is permanent. This cannot be damaged by the plane crash. So, or you can just fly up in the sky, and you can eject yourself from the body and let the body fall down. So these are whole kind of, extreme. So if you can also say, if you are permanent, your body is impermanent. With the body, it takes 1 hour to get to the airport. So why not you go without a body, right? So yeah, these are saying that grasping extreme ideas. The extreme in the context here refer to the edge, an edge one can fall off. Extreme means is edge, right? One can fall off. Just as ordinary language, one speak of the precipice, right, as an extreme is a cliff, and falling off it as a falling off an edge. So here too, we can speak of falling to extreme, where the apprehension positions lead to the person's downfall. So it's kind of downfall then, if so these are all downfall kind of result. If I am permanent, my body is impermanent. Anytime I can jump from the airplane, leave the body there. That is also downfall. It's extreme. Since existence in terms of ultimate reality remain impossible, even on the conventional level. Since extreme in terms of ultimate reality remain impossible, even on the conventional level, the absence of the existence in ultimate reality exists conventionally. Emptiness,
the existing of the emptiness is when you say, this is the emptiness of color, emptiness of smell. So if there is something you can think of, this is the emptiness. You are perceiving emptiness conventionally. When you directly experience the emptiness, you don't see anything to pinpoint. This is emptiness. So in other words, the conceptualizations is not directly seeing things, because thought is always trying to they get the meaning through its own projections. It's indirectly, So too, the hold everything as non-existing on the ultimate level does not constitute grasping at the extreme of the nihilism. Everything is non-existing on the ultimate level. So then says, color do not exist ultimately is not a nihilism. Color is not existing is nihilism.
Mm-hmm.
Color not existing intrinsically is not nihilism.
Mm-hmm.
So color existing is not a eternalism. Color exists intrinsically is eternalism. So constitute the extreme nihilisms, and to repudiate it by saying things do not exist in such manner does not constitute an elimination of extreme of nihilism. However, if one grasps at absence of negation intrinsic existence, does not truly exist, does not intrinsically exist like that, as existing in ultimate reality, this would be falling into extreme of nihilism. As such, an elimination of such standpoint would constitute elimination of the extreme of the nihilism. So the fact that phenomena such as a karma and its effect do exist on the conventional level cannot be undermined by any valid cognitions. So the relation of the cause and effect, relation of the barley seed sprout, relation of the milk in the yogurt, existing of the relations cannot be undermined by any valid cognitions. Either valid cognitions here, wisdom realizing emptiness, or an I consciousness, or direct experience of the relation of the cause and effect. So any of the conventional knowledge or ultimate knowledge is not going to, is not going to undermine the existing of the relation of the cause and effect.
Shila, did you say at one point, did you describe it as like unshakable relationship? Did you use that word before? Have you used
Yeah.
it? Okay, unshakable.
So the smoke with fire is unshakable relations.
And is that the idea that they can't be separated further? Like they can't be split apart?
The relations is because the smoke always follows the fire.
Right.
Smoke does not come from hot water.
Follows like effect. Okay.
So it's unshakable relations
between.
This is always for this thing, particular
because
thing.
of the conventional relationship.
Yeah, conventional relation.
Okay.
So that is called this valid cognitions is relatively exist. That relatively existing of the relation of the cause and effect cannot be undermined by any kind of valid cognitions. Even the wisdom realizing emptiness is not going to harm the existing of the cause and effect.
Right.
So if someone think that, because the because of the emptiness, the existing of the color, existing of the cause and effect relations are, impossible. So that means he's following nihilism, because he thought emptiness is really annihilating things. So when such karma and its effects do exist on the conventional level, cannot be undermined by any valid cognitions, so to conceive them as having no existing or being non-existing, the both of the object conceived as well as subject, that grasp as such are respectively the extreme of nihilism. So, because its cause and effect relation is not ultimate, not substantial, therefore, cause and effect relations is not existent generally. So, which means you are annihilating, or you are falling into nihilisms, or to say that the Buddha has no forms is not an extreme of non-existence. When it's a Buddha has no form, Buddha has no delusions, so there's not a nihilism. And nor is the mind apprehending it as such nihilistic. The mind that's apprehending the Buddha is free from all forms is not a nihilistic. Now the denial of karma and its effect is nihilistic extreme through the denigrations, right? While the formal grasping at intrinsic existing of the emptiness, if someone thinks emptiness is truly exists by itself, and that is also eternalism. Is a nihilistic extreme through the reifications. Therefore, apart from the negations just referred to, in general, the extreme of existence and the grasping at the extreme of existence refer respectively to the object and the subject associated with grasping at the phenomena as ultimately existence or existing through intrinsic nature. So that is eternalism. To say that Buddha has wisdom and compassion is not an extreme of existence, is not exaggerated. To apprehend this does not constitute the grasping at such extreme. So there are, however, some contexts in Madhyamika treatises where ultimate existing is characterized as constituting the extreme of existence with respect to all phenomena. So yeah, this is Lama Tsongkhapa is explaining to the Tibetan people, again and again. So it's a different way of writing, when you read the Chandrakiti in Vedapalitas, they don't repeat again and again. So Lama Tsongkhapa has the habit of repeating because Tibetan, the air is very thick. so
if one believed that the emptiness to be truly existent, that's not exaggeration, it's nihilism.
Empty is exaggerations. Emptiness, truly existing, is nihilism.
So that says that if one believed that the intrinsic existence of emptiness, this is a nihilistic extreme through extreme existence, when it says after denigration, the why the former grasping at intrinsic existence of emptiness.
Intrinsic existence of emptiness is a nihilistic extreme through reifications. Reifications means
make it truly exist.
Yeah, kind of think like double down, like it is that thing. It's denigrate would do you to like less.
Yeah.
And I think truly existence is, I thought it was like more exaggeration.
And then this is very debatable, you know, when you say, someone says, for the Charaka, there is no next life, is, you know, you can say it's exaggerating, therefore it becomes eternalism, you know. So why not it's not eternalism? Because it's superimposing, you know, there is no next life, you know. So this, and when it says there is no law in cause and effect, and usually this is also nihilism. And why not he is exaggerating? If exaggerating, why not eternalism? So, you know, now depending on the how you, when you divided eternalism and nihilism, and what you meant nihilistic is, you know, nihilism means you are referring something exists in general, but you think does not exist, is nihilism. And something that is existing, but not intrinsically exists, but you think is overly existing, not just conventionally exists, it exists by itself, is you are exaggerating and eternalist.
I just want to say that reification means to deny interdependence or dependent origination. When you reify things, you divide into self and other as truly existing. That's the meaning of reification.
So yeah, I tried to find reification in the dictionary. I couldn't find reifications. And I also write reify. Says I don't know. So, thank you for explaining that. So it's kind of a really, you know, if you know, for, you know, what is eternalism? What you mean by eternalism? What you mean by nihilism? So it's hard to accept that emptiness intrinsically exists as a nihilistic. So, like Chanangpa, in the Chanang traditions, Chanang tradition, Chanang. Particularly Chanang, Kunchen Chanangpa Rinpoche. And according to his kind of, through his study in the Kala Chakra, Tantra, and he kind of come up with conclusions that there's only one ultimate nature, and the ultimate nature, which is the wisdom realizing emptiness, in the sense of the very subtle consciousness. That is the only ultimate nature that is truly exist. And other than that, all are falsely exist. So he kind of saying that this is the only, if there is the ultimate, this subtle consciousness, realizing emptiness, is the seed of the omniscient. This is, you know, this will remain all the time. So he thinks that, you know, then many of the masters, like Lama Tsongkhapa's, you know, dispute on this, you know, how, you know, impermanence can be intrinsically existing. Because the settled consciousness in ordinary person, settled consciousness in the Arya beings, settled consciousness which realizing emptiness, and the Bodhisattva's, the first Bhumi, the second Bhumi, and settled consciousness that is perceiving emptiness in the Buddha. There's many changes. So how can that ultimately exist? Ultimately means uncreated. It cannot be created. It cannot be produced. It cannot be changed. So the settled consciousness, which is realizing emptiness in sentient being and arhats and the Buddha, are the different. They change through familiarizations of the meditation. So, and then also it's kind of, it's hard to prove that other than the settled consciousness, everything is falsely exists. What do you mean by falsely exists? It's unreal. For them, it's unreal means, what do you mean is it's only perceived. It's only perceived in mistaken consciousness, this is. It only exists in mistaken consciousness. So again, we ask, what do you mean by mistaken consciousness? Are you referring the conventional realities, the perceived by the wrong perceptions? Every subject, the perceptions that conventional reality, the cognized in the conventional reality are wrong perceptions. Are you referring that? And then our eye consciousness, air consciousness, tongue consciousness, the body consciousness, even the mental consciousness, the understanding of the law and cause and effect, all become the wrong perception. And in that case, law and cause and effect is not existing. So if Chanambaran Rinpoche says, we says is just mistakenly perceived, does not mean wrongly perceived. And there's some kind of mistake, and then it says, we too say that, even the eye consciousness perceiving color, maybe eye consciousness is not mistaken with respect to the existence of the color, but it is always mistaken with respect to the nature of the color. So color is there, I directly experience, and also I think when I see the color is out there by itself. That is the wrong perception. So therefore, even the eye consciousness perceiving the color is mistaken. So now here, this analysis in the treatises is, I think this Chandrakiti is root text. Analysis in the treatises is not out of fondness or for debate, is expound, right? Suchness, because it's aimed at freedom. So you want the liberations, therefore this critical thinking, analysis is necessary. It's not out of you are excited in debating. Of other philosophical systems are undone. So by that critical thinking, you may, proven wrong to other philosophical thinking, undone in the course of expounding the suchness. However, this is not a fault. It is just when you light up the flesh and the darkness is gone. You are not really disliking or discriminating in the dark. It's just when you light up the flashlight, right? And then darkness is gone. If you explain something in the detail, as and his wrong perceptions disappears. So it's not a false. So in view of this, Noble Nagarjuna's engaged in such extensive analysis through varieties of the reasoning in his treatises on the middle way, not out of fondness for debate or to outdo others. Outdo others. So this is something we should understand. When his treatises on the middle way expounded the suchness, when engaged in the critical analysis through reasoning, it aimed at helping peoples attain freedom with the thought. How I wish sentient being would realize this suchness without error and attain liberations. So the pure, compassions, I think it's saying that it should be practiced, it should be practiced, aiming at liberations. It should be practiced in understanding, explaining out of compassions. So sometimes we have many informations, you have memorized the text, you have some kind of information to explain, and just to perform, how intelligent you are, this may be. So it's not the way, it's not the way. But in the debate court here, we do that many times. So many times there's a whole motivation, intention is just So the questions, it is not the case you, Madhyamika, have cited all the argument and analysis of those who propound the existing of the real entities and have refuted them in your treatises. Like, refuting the Siddhantic school point of views, Minority school point of views. So therefore, the activity of treatises is indeed to engage in disputations. How can you state that the cessation of the conceptualization alone is the fruit of such analysis? Yeah, sometimes we do that like in the monasteries, two monasteries when we debate. So if we, got the victories, after debate session finished, and we party. So, sometimes, special, treat, because you have done well, so you have to be that.
Good job, yeah.
So these are, is kind of still, there's some delusional, mind in there. So replies that truly this analysis was not undertaken for the sake of disputation, right? So this said, when suchness is carefully presented, given the weakness of the opponent's positions, the tenets of the opponents are unable to stand their own ground. So just like a darkness coming into the contact with the light, the opponent's positions are undermined. This, however, is not your fault. So if the postulations of the other philosophical systems are undone in the course of expounding the suchness, this is not a fault. So Also 400 standards says. So sometimes, so which means it's not a main thing to do. It is not really something super important to just to proving others' point of view is wrong. In the Dharmakritis, in the biographies, when you read this, he went to many different schools to debate, So he sent the letters, I'm coming in that day, so anyone, can debate with me, so I will be available that day. And he go there, and no one can debate with him, and he says, if you cannot debate with me, so now you have to follow me. So this dharma was not taught by the Tathagata. Tathagats, usually it's Tathagat, for the sake of engaging in the disputations. However, just as a fire burns, it's fueled, right? It does burn, it does burn clean an opponent's challenges. For example, the goal of making fire to boil water for drinking is not to produce ashes or the charcoal. This come about as a byproduct. Ayadeva thus explain it with these analogies. So there's a many, some of the great masters, I mentioned as one of the, one of the great scholar during the previous, before the Buddha Shakyamuni, Buddha. He was a great scholar of the three Pitakas. And the problem is he has, very stingy in his knowledge. He doesn't want to share. He doesn't want people to know it as him. So there, in his mind, there's some kind of, holding on his knowledge. And that makes him, the karma, next life. So born in formless realms in many places. So having attached to even the knowledge of Tripitaka is going to be, the karma to be born cycling in samsara. So, for example, the goal making this. Then continue. The root text says, attachment to one's own view, and likewise. So, aversion for others, view, all of this is just taught. Therefore, it is by eliminating the attachment and aversion and engaging in analysis that one swiftly gain freedom. So not to attach to your own view or your philosophical point of view or your understanding, your knowledge. Because if you're attached, you just stick. You stop improving. So the knowledge is infinite. So if you attach to one particular knowledge and you just stuck with that, you are not going to grow your knowledge. You're not growing with knowledge, right? So if, however, one were to give teaching out of attachment to dispositions, so excited the debate, then one will undeniably feel hostility towards the others. You have disliking on others. the flawed positions and attachment towards one's own logically sound standpoint. And there will be no end to thought process involving anger and attachment. So the anger and attachment is the cause of the second existence, even the anger attachment with, with relation to the knowledge of the Dharma. Or you have attachment to your traditions, or your attachment to the Buddha as a Buddhist. So all of these are the cause of the samsara. Why? Because attachments to one's own view and likewise the feeling of aversion to others' views become just thought that chain oneself and prevent turning away from such anger and attachment. So it's not freeing yourself from anger and attachment, thus increasing them further. In this way, one will remain trapped in a bondage, a samsaric bondage, and never become free. Given that this teachings on emptiness was not taught for the sake of disputations, it is by eliminating the attachment to one's own standpoint and aversion towards the positions and engaging in refined analysis through the reasoning that one swiftly gain freedom. So that is the main goal. Liberation's main goal is free oneself from attachment and anger. If anger and attachment comes with your knowledge, and is also knowledge, attachment towards the knowledge, and anger towards the other standpoint, is still it is the main cause that binds you in samsara. So 60 versions of this reasoning also says 60 stanzas, reason 60, or for these great beings beyond dispute, they have no thesis at all. These great beings beyond dispute, they have no thesis at all. And for those who have no thesis, how can there be counter thesis? Yeah. So this is the ayah was rangi chola chachi shenjola nyanga ni chu shiwa yue mi girus kanshi yue ni tu de chachi chuma yimba tu de konduke nga je jabe chola lobate nga je wa me tu jesu yos. So ayah so it's saying that you attach to your own view. You attach to your own for great beings beyond dispute, they have no thesis at all. There's no thesis, or there's no. Usually it says, how's that? What is the English version for? Tawatamje Pombichers. It's abandoning all views, right? Buddha's, you taught the Dharma, you taught the Dharma out of compassions. Dharma that you taught is to abandon all views. So you have no particular single view to hold on. So because the Buddha says the goal to freedom from all the defilement is, always remain or kind of settle in, reality as it is, and you have no this is my point of view, or I don't like this kind of views. So the purpose of that is if you have no attachment to any views, the being beyond the dispute, you have no dispute to anything. So no thesis at all for those who have no thesis. How can there be counter thesis? So now it's not talking about, you have no theory to prove anything. So no thesis means I have no favor of any kind of thesis. Yeah, sometimes we really do in the monastery during the debate. We there's some kind of really emotionally strongly attached to your own one's thesis. So like in the monastery, the Gandhi monasteries, and there's a two, Ch16, and the commentary that we follow, and there's a little bit that's slightly different. So we just based on that slightly difference, we kind of, almost like, you're battling with the other. So that is also the karma to fall back into samsara, not for the liberation. But this kind of, it creates some kind of interest and understanding. So there is no absolute bad, no absolute good, Absolute is not. So it can be, sometimes it's conditioning for you to gain more interest in the learning and studying. But if you stick with this kind of excitement and debating, then, inevitably, generates the anger and attachment. So 400 stanza says, if you are attached to your own positions and dislike the other's standpoint, you will not travel in nirvana. So, and dissolutions of the duality will not be. The dissolutions, and particularly in this, according to the Chandrakritis, the existing and non-existing, finally what you think of existing and non-existing, both are, not intrinsic. Not intrinsic is the understanding of, the non-duality existing of the samsara and nirvana. Non-duality of awakening state and sleeping state. So non-duality means, the sleeping state is no different from the state of being awake. It's not different. It's barley turned into sprout. The sprout is no different from the seed. Milk turned into yogurt. Yogurt is no different from once it was the milk. So in this way, arhat, when they kind of attain nirvana, they don't see, their attainment in nirvana is different from once they are in single existence. So that single existing is, you awake from this, therefore you are arhat. So when you are dreaming in the night, in the sleeping, or then you are awake from that dream state. So this is kind of dissolution of the duality will not be. Yeah, this is one of the arguments. This is the kind of one of the some says, what if the arhat, what if arhat conceive himself is a liberated being, different from the samsaric being, and is there possible that he can say, I am the one who is in arhat, in different from ordinary people. So, is it not having, grasping as self? So then it says, there is no arhat's mind seeing himself different from, once he was in second existence. He only says, I just awake from that dream state. I just awake from that misconception. I just awake from the delusion state of mind. So when you awake from sleeping, you say, "Oh, my, my sleeping state of myself is stupid." So I know many things. I can see things. I can eat. I can talk to people. My sleeping state is is over coma. It's stupid. We don't say that. So in this way, I do not have any sense of grasping itself. Being seen different from once he was in second existence. So that the duality is not there.
Doesn't the arhat see or recognize he's not in a deluded state? I mean, does he not separate? I'm not quite getting it, because on the one hand, how can I say it? An unreified state, you wouldn't separate life from death, delusion from non-delusion. That would be, it's non-dualistic. You wouldn't see a separation. But on the other hand, wouldn't you still recognize a non-deluded state from a deluded state? Whereas our deluded state seems real to us, but wouldn't an arhat see, oh, this person's in a deluded state, they can't see things as they are, but they wouldn't necessarily have a sense of self, but they would see clearly. I mean, do you understand what I'm trying to say? They still have some sense of seeing clearly without obstruction or fabrication, versus an ordinary being who is in a fabricated state and doesn't recognize it.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, that's the only reasons, non-dualistics. The dualistic is, seeing things, cause and effect as the different is dualistic. Seeing the state of arhat, seeing arhat is some kind of different from the state of samsara. So this kind of dualistic thought or the conceptualizations do not occur in the arhat's mind. So, when they have no dualistic mind or dualistic object that appears to their mind, they don't have any, misconceptions or the misunderstanding or any delusion of mind. So I even set the example, you don't see yourself different from when you wake up, right? You don't see yourself different from the person who has slept. So the Arhat also do not see, there is me, that intrinsically is something different from, different from, So only thing is different. The only thing is I'm just awake, awake. Awake in mind means someone is sleeping. So how you awake? I awake from this state of sleeping. Sleeping means is actually while you are in samsara, you are most of the time you are dreaming or interacting with your mental projections. It's like the person who is in a dream, seeing many things, arguing and enjoying, dancing in the dream. So their just simple mind is interact with their own projections. When you're awake, in the daytime, you also same things. You are interacting with your own projections. Yeah, it's too many things now. So, and then this is what we have to focus on what he's saying here. The king of the Meditation Sutra 2, the state is, he who experienced attachment upon hearing the teaching, engender the anger upon hearing what is contrary to it. The crushed by the pride and self-satisfactions will be led astray. Because of his pride, he will meet the suffering. The king of the Buddhist word. The Buddha's word. This is what who experience attachment. So there is a story. There's one monk while he was before he was monk, and he has some kind of always sense of renunciations from the beginning. Naturally, it comes. He always sees his relatives, the parents, the brothers and sisters. He said, "Oh, everything is impermanent. One day, there is no reliable. I cannot rely attached to anything. Everything is changing." And then he, become the monk, and he always, when there's a time that he meets with Buddha, and he always says, "Why do I need to stick in the monastery? Why do I have to stick with the community? These are all impermanent." And that from the beginning he has this kind of, and then he kind of gradually improves his understanding in the meditations. He kind of tend to sense liking, being in this, community with Buddha. And then Buddha says, "Hey, do you remember that you said that, not attached to the community, not attached to the parents? And why you like in this, community, you have some kind of favor in being in the presence of the monks and in the presence of the Buddha. Aren't you generating some attachment to the community and me?" And he said, "Oh, So then he kind of, he just isolated himself from the community and went to the forest. And within the very short time, he was attained Arhat. So that's, So some kind of, before there's some kind of sense of detachment, some kind of renunciations there. And gradually you develop some kind of attachment to the good things. Mm-hmm. So that even the good things, the attachment, is holding him back in samsara. So Buddha reminds him, and then he isolated himself from the community, and he just, said in meditations, he attained nirvana. So some people that's like that. So even the attachment for the good thing is also the bondage, saying that. And now he is saying, how do you really define the attachment? Having faith in the Buddha, liking Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, liking Buddha, Dharma, Buddha's teachings, liking Prasanga school point of views. Are these attachment? So attachment is kind of here more like fixations, more like, I'm inseparable. I cannot separate myself from this. So that kind of feeling is attachment. So you say, oh, I cannot be separate from, the Prasanga school point of view. So every time I listen to Mindfulness School, I kind of like, feel like they are very stupid. So that is the attachment point of view. If you see where the Prasanga school, pointing at the empty or intrinsic existence, if you see that, you are in the Prasanga point of view. You have no attachment. So it also like that, some great masters, and they kind of from their many years of practice, they kind of generate the qualities of the concentrations that can have the direct communication with the deities. And then at that moment, they tend to like it, so almost fixate with the deities, but that becomes the attachment, having attached to the deities. So sometimes people say, oh, this is all of this, each of the knowledge that you gain, you have obtained, right? And you always think this like a boat, I use that to get to the freedom or liberations. So boat means, used as a boat means, not to attach, not to fixate, one knowledge, and then you improve, another level of knowledge. You don't have attachment to the knowledge that you have gained in the first place. So you're just living and moving, improving, going forward. Even you have, deities, and not attached to the deities. So if you, but without relying on those teachings, those informations, those blessings from the deities, and you again, it's also very difficult to, generate the wisdom. But you have relying on them, but it's like a school, kindergarten school, high school, and college. You have say, oh, I like this kind of kindergarten school. You just, whole life you spend in the kindergarten is stupid, right? Always is APP apple, APP apple. So, because I like it, So this is like Chandrakirti stated that the text has formed, how's that? Chandrakirti stated the text has from the sections on the refutations of self arising up to this point. Am I skipping something?
You read up to the King of Meditation Sutra.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's not attachment at all is not good. So it stated that how, if we do not analyze with objective mind, forsaking the basis born of the attachment and hostilities to our own positions and those of others, has a analytic contemplations of the philosophical tenets, could itself become the basis for chaining yourself ever more tightly to the second existence. So we should view this as the extraordinary advice given to us from the compassionate heart, like Ayurveda was with us. So, we also have many stories. Some of the great masters are very good at debating and born the ghosts, become the ghost, a powerful spirit. So this is attachment. You have gained so much knowledge. You have known so much. You may have some kind of interact with some kind of deities, and you attach to it. So then, next life you become, because of the attachment. Attachment, when there's attachment, there's aversions, and automatically this two-phase. So, in the Jain culture, in the Tibet, we have a winter debate. So, not in India, but saying that in Tibet, wherever there is a gathering, monks from the different monasteries for the debate, they always worry about one thing: is there's a ghost with donkey fist. So that comes during the debate, So in the debate courtyard, after they finish their recitations, the mantras, or doing some sutras reciting, and once they finish, and everybody stand up and you have to clap. When I clap, my the person, she have to look, and then he slap and I have to look. If the donkey face is there, he would say pop. so because he was so attached to the debating, so he comes very often. So Chandrakiti stated that the text intrinsically exists, we should extraordinarily give this. Chandrakiti stated that the text has, from the sections on the refutations of self arising up to this point, presented the selflessness of the phenomena. What he meant, what he means by this is that the selflessness of conditional phenomena has, of course, been explained in many different contexts, and that the selflessness of the unconditional phenomena has also been presented here. And there is, there in the text. So now, chapter 17, the selflessness of the person. So in the Prasangika traditions, in Nagarjuna's, so most of the logics, the reasonings is all refuting the, selflessness of the phenomena, like the cause and effect, and the existing of the body aggregates, and the relation of the cause and effect, and the sensual objects. So all of them refuting that there's no intrinsic in everything. So then, once you understand the selflessness of the phenomena, and easily you can, gain understanding of selflessness of person. Because when you analyze many times all the color, sound, smell, taste, textures, the relations, all of them, and then it's very, very easy to, refute the intrinsic existing of self, because the negation element of the existing of the person intrinsically existing is more vivid to us than the intrinsic existing of the phenomena. So like in our own experience, the existence of myself intrinsically is more vivid. I can easily recognize. Then I have the misconceptions, the grasping at the intrinsic existence of the color, sound, smell, taste, textures.
Can you tell us a little bit about this unconditioned phenomena?
Unconditional phenomena, like, unconditional phenomena like emptiness itself is unconditional phenomena, and the cessation of the suffering is unconditional phenomena, and the space is unconditional phenomena, and then all of these non-affirmative negations are all unconditional phenomena. And sometimes, in the text, many times refer the unconditional means the past of the, like for example, today is the Sunday is the present, the past of the Sunday is, it is not conditioned like the Sunday. So if the Sunday is not intrinsic, it is impermanent, and the past of the Sunday is also, the impermanence and the absence of intrinsic. And if the Sunday is produced from the cosmic condition, the past of the Sunday is also produced from the cosmic condition, because it's produced from the process of the disintegration of the Sunday. The continuity of the Sunday existing or continues to disintegrate Sunday is the cause of the end of Sunday. So entity and non-entity, and the conditional, and if this is referring to the real conditional, unconditional, and the unconditional, all of non-affirmative negation is unconditional. These are all conventional reality.
To say that, so past of any phenomena is also unconditional?
It's not, and say, so sometimes when they translate in English, so they do a little bit change there. So sometimes entity, non-entity. Sometimes this is when in the Tibetan text, root text, that says "ngobo the ngobo mevas." So many times the translators translate "ngobo meva," non-entity, as unconditional. So the conditional things and their absence. So, if you really, sometimes for me, when I read in the, Buddha Palita's texts, in the Chandrakirtis and the commentaries, sometimes they use the existing as a, negation element. Many times because in the Sanskrit word, in Tibetan we say yeba, and existing is yeba, non-existing is meba. In the Sanskrit word, this ye existing can be construed in the meaning of, the past of things. So, yeah, because the language, when it comes to the, objective reality, the language always muted, could not express as it is. So the word has it's kind of like lacking the capability to explain things. This is why we have to say many times, hours and hours saying, oh, then people get, oh. Said, oh, is the answer, So and when you ask, why you oh? Like, I don't know. I kind of understand something. So that means our language is, cannot go beyond that. Who's that? Julie says, oh. I just noticed the questions. Do you think, how's that? I cannot read. Can you help me?
Do you think Phil will see Punxsutawney Phil?
Huh?
Punxsutawney Phil is the groundhog who will see if he sees his shadow.
She's joking.
I guess so.
Grandfather, what?
I'm sorry?
What she says?
So she said, do you think Phil will see his shadow? And it's a tradition where a groundhog, if it sees a shadow, there's 4 more weeks of winter. And if there's not 4 more, if he doesn't see a shadow, there is no more winter. It's like a divination for the winter.
So still dumbfounded. so I'm dumb.
And you found it.
So dumb is okay. It can be understand. Dumb is not really good. Dumb follow the dumb, right? So just dumb is okay. You can. There's only chances to gain knowledge. Phil will see his shadow tomorrow. Ask the Phil. So next Sunday we'll start chapter 17, selflessness of person. So what he's saying is the 2 things, two things that's pointed out in this page that we are reading. So one that says you should know that what is the extreme. So when we say Buddha has the compassion and wisdom, it is exaggerating, it is superimposing? No. And when you say, the barley sprout arises from the barley seed, is it, it's superimposing? No, it's not superimposing. And then they say, if the barley sprout arises intrinsically from the seed, and that is superimposition. So when we say, do color existing intrinsically, that is superimposition. The color exists known by the eye consciousness, that is not superimposition. So the cause and the effect, the relation of the cause, barley seed and sprout, and the existence of color, smell, taste, textures cannot be undermined by any valid cognition. Even that comes to the wisdom realizing emptiness. Wisdom realizing emptiness is not undermining existing of the color relativities. So wisdom realizing emptiness understands objectively, color do not exist, means the only way it can exist is relatively. So the relativity is not negating. And then the second point is, so attachment is always the cause for the samsara. Even attachment to your viewpoint, attachment to the teaching, attachment to the traditions, cultures, and attachment to even the positive things. Yeah, any other questions? No question? Chanju simjo rinpoche, ma jeba na jeju jeba nyamba, meba nyamba, kondo pebers, tonyi tawa rinpoche, ma jeba na jeju jeba nyamba, meba, kondo pebers, pama simjen tamje, dedan deju, ngendro tamje, tato tongwa, chanju simba, kana sushu,
대답은 몰람 주주를 가르라고 그러시면 편단대와 만든 좀 제래서 딘딘자 샤베시데 바도 된주르지
May the precious body mind not yet born arise and grow. May the bond of no decline but increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness not yet born arise and grow. May the bond of no decline but increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings have all the happiness, and may all lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. O powerful Chandrakiti and Zingyatso, remain in this world until samsara ends.
Thank you.